Meet Shin, your average high schooler. Nothing special, nothing that stands out. Yet, he's completely obsessed with magical stones, cherishing them deeply. One day, he finds himself in an ancient stone shop inquiring if the shopkeeper has anything new. The shopkeeper reveals a collection of unimaginable stones, leaving Shin utterly captivated. Suddenly, he remembers his class and rushes out, promising to return later. He navigates through his school day without a hitch, later sitting down with his mother. Their chat reveals she's a famous archaeologist boasting an extensive library. She mentions, "Today marks your father's birthday, but as always, I'll celebrate alone since he's buried in work." Shin feels a pang of sadness and vows to bring his father to the celebration this year. He bombards his father with messages, insisting he attend, even threatening to drag him back if necessary. That night, they set up a fantastic birthday party, eagerly awaiting his father's arrival. But as usual, his father ignores all the calls. He's once again lost in his scientific pursuits. That's when Shin decides he's had enough. He hops on the first train to his father's workplace. Upon arrival, he tells the guards, "I'm Shin Sanga, here for a personal visit with the director." He takes the elevator to his father's office, but finds it empty. Out of the corner of his eye, he spots a magical stone, glowing and clearly active. He rushes to grab it, and in that instant, a massive surge of energy engulfs the room, warping reality. In a heartbeat, the stone transports Shin to an unfamiliar world, one that defies logic. Meanwhile, in this strange realm, a shadowy figure with a menacing dagger stealthily approaches the royal castle. He swiftly dispatches 2 guards before entering the king's chambers, clearly intent on murder. The king sleeps soundly, oblivious to the impending danger. The assassin raises his weapon, poised to strike, but the king suddenly awakens, blocking the attack effortlessly. The king declares, "It's dishonorable to kill a man while he sleeps," and the tables turn. We learn the attacker is Arslan, the former king's son, seeking revenge against the usurper. But do you really think this will be a walk in the park, my friend? Not a chance. In an instant, both summon their magical weapons, and a fierce battle ignites. Arslan channels all his strength and strikes at the king, but it's futile. The king deflects the blow with ease, sending Arslan crashing to the ground. Just as he's about to deliver a fatal blow, he instead injures Arslan and orders his soldiers to imprison him. We flash back to Arslan's past, where he once lived peacefully in the palace until he overheard servants discussing his family's murder. From that moment, Arslan vowed to reclaim his father's throne no matter the cost. Back to the present. Suddenly, a portal of energy opens in the prison yard, and Shin appears. Everyone stands in shock, bewildered by the sudden appearance. Are you a human or a spirit? How did you arrive here? Before Shin can respond, the soldiers rush at him. They decide to throw him in prison too. But do you think that'll be simple? Say it with me. No way. Suddenly, a lethal magical energy surges from Shin, prompting Arslan to shout, "Attack now!" With one swift move, Shin annihilates the soldiers and devastates the entire area. Arslan stares at him, astonished. "What are you waiting for? Let's get out of here!" As they flee the castle, Arslan urges Shin to conceal his weapon and move quietly. But Shin is perplexed. "How can I hide a weapon I don't even know how I obtained?" Arslan replies, "It's simple. Just take a deep breath. Focus on something you cherish, and the weapon will vanish." And just like that, the weapon disappears. Shin realizes Arslan knows the castle's layout like the back of his hand. He's even constructed secret tunnels that remain unknown to others. As they finally escape into the forest, a gigantic monster suddenly attacks. Shin stands frozen, gripped by fear. Arslan brandishes his weapon and charges at the creature, landing a solid blow. The battle rages on, and he shouts for Shin to assist him. Yet Shin remains clueless about how he even summoned his weapon initially. The beast lunges at Shin, hoisting him into the air. It seems like the end is near, but then the weapon returns. Shin gathers all his strength and retaliates. Furious, the monster conjures its own weapon, and with one strike, sends them both tumbling off a cliff, crashing beside a raging river. Arslan leaps in to rescue Shin from drowning, ensuring he's still alive. Shin shouts, "What just happened? Why did I follow you? Who are you anyway? And why does everyone want you dead?" Finally, Arslan starts to explain. He reveals that this realm is known as Andorra Kingdom, a mythical land, reminiscent of Atlantis, my friend. As they converse, Shin opens his eyes again, completely awestruck by the place's beauty. Arslan urges him to remain calm. Suddenly, a girl appears. Her name is Lisa, and she addresses Arslan as Your Highness, leaving Shin utterly stunned. A prince? "But you were just imprisoned. What's happening?" Arslan brushes off the inquiry and tells him to keep moving. Eventually, they reach one of the kingdom's most stunning villages, where a magnificent bird soars above. Lisa shares that the bird is named Flaren, her closest companion. She's shocked to discover that Shin hails from another world. Her astonishment is evident, but Arslan urgently interrupts. "We need to find a hiding spot, quickly!" He guides them to an influential figure in the kingdom, Pascal, a genius and Arslan's mentor since childhood. Before they can catch their breath, a massive wild boar charges at them. Without a moment's hesitation, Arslan summons his weapon again, while Lisa calls upon Flaren, who morphs into a giant dragon. In a flash, the dragon seizes the boar and finishes it off. But another boar appears, this one charging directly at Shin. Who does it think it's messing with? Shin is not the same anymore. He summons his weapon and with one decisive strike, flattens the monster for good. Suddenly, Shin and Lisa halt, caught by one of the traps set in the area. Fortunately, Pascal arrives just in time to save them. He reveals that he had laid numerous traps to defend against monsters, as if he were from another world. He brings them to his home, but chaos reigns with nothing suitable to sit on. No matter, Pascal starts interrogating Shin. "Are you really from another world? How did you end up here?" Shin responds, "It's quite simple. I was in the lab with my father, and when I touched a strange crystal, I was pulled into it. I found myself in this forest. Yes, and Arslan is my friend." Pascal shows him a map of the other world, stating, "We are right here." Long ago, it was said that a city named Balon housed a temporal gate that allowed travel between Andorra and your world, but it was destroyed by one of the ancients, cutting off the connection between the realms. We learned that the new king is doing everything he can to reopen that gate, seeking access to Shin's world. The narrative flashes back, revealing that Pascal was once a research scholar in the royal palace. He had indeed found a way to reactivate the gate, but fearing the king's intentions toward the new world, he concealed his research and fled. In another scene, the king orders his soldiers to find Arslan and bring him at once. They unleash ferocious monsters and manage to track them down. The soldiers nearly capture them, but just then, the alarm bells ring at Pascal's residence. An overwhelming wave of soldiers begins their assault. Arslan is eager to fight, but Pascal halts him, saying, "We must flee at once. If the king's men catch us, we'll be powerless." At that moment, the traps spring to life, ensnaring and eliminating the soldiers one by one. Pascal seizes his flying contraption and makes a hasty escape. After several aerial loops, he yells, "Grab something!" Then he crashes hard, declaring, "That was my best landing yet." "You heard me right, my friend." He leads them to a hidden refuge. From the outside, it appears deserted and swarming with bats. Inside, however, it's a fully stocked lab. Later, Pascal and Arslan step aside for a private chat. Pascal states, "We need to find a way to send Shin back home. At the same time, we must cut off any ties to the other realm." Ancient tales warned against this. He adds, "But how do we stop it with the king trying to open the gate? You're a wanted man, and I'm in hiding. Our only shot is to reach Balon, secretly open the gate, and obliterate the place once Shin is back." They agree on the strategy. Meanwhile, the king dispatches mercenary beasts to eliminate Arslan and Pascal. He commands, "I want them kneeling before me, alive. No one kills them but me. Understood?" Elsewhere, Pascal dons a disguise and heads out for food and supplies, instructing everyone to stay put. Lisa also departs to gather water. Arslan seizes the moment to talk to Shin. "I have a scheme to get you back to your world," he adds, "but you must help me take down the king in return." Shin retorts angrily, "I would never do that." Arslan explains that if the king reaches Balon first, Shin will be trapped forever. Thus, we need to eliminate the king first. He continues, "We must keep Lisa out of this discussion. Her knowledge could spell disaster for us." Later, they set out to hunt wild boars. Each of them calls forth their magical weapon. Arslan instructs Shin, "You'll lure the boar to me, and I'll finish it." As planned, Shin drives the boar toward Arslan, who charges but stumbles. The boar nearly finishes him off, but do you think Shin would just stand there? Of course not. In a flash, Shin leaps and takes down the boar. An epic moment. That night, they sleep soundly until Arslan suddenly wakes Shin. They rush toward the royal palace, only to find it surrounded by the king's soldiers. Shin and Arslan's group is trapped, seemingly facing their end. Until it's revealed these soldiers aren't the king's. They belong to Agnist, a rebel faction. Arslan requests to speak with their leader, and a man appears asking, "What do you want?" "I'm the commander. His name is Dimitro." Arslan boldly states, "I want to team up with you to overthrow the king." Dimitro scoffs, "And who kills their own father?" Everyone thinks Arslan is the current king's son. Unaware that the king murdered his own father to seize the throne, Arslan explains the rebels have no loyalty, like the Zou tribe, who act as special forces. But as soon as he mentions the Zou tribe, the rebels shout, "He compares us to the Zou?" Let's get him. Arslan tries to prove his worth, even revealing vital information about the king. But a girl among them retorts, "Save your breath. You and your friends are worthless." Dimitro, however, sees it differently. He asks, "If you manage to eliminate the king, what would you do next?" Arslan falls silent, then responds, "I don't care what happens afterward as long as he's gone." Dimitro laughs, "So you're not just weak, you're foolish too. Get out of here before I kill you myself." Arslan and Shin seethe with rage, ready to summon their magical weapons and strike. But it's futile. Dimitro knocks one down and lifts the other by his feet. He looks at Arslan and says, "You're pathetic and ignorant. All you care about is dethroning the king, forgetting that if you kill him, you'll have to rule the kingdom." He then states, "I'll give you a shot to show you're fit to lead the kingdom. But first, you're joining my crew," he adds. "You will obey my commands without question. First, you'll work. No slackers allowed in my crew." He leads them to the village, assigning their initial task. Washing clothes in the river. "Come on, you energetic one. Show us what you can do." Dimitro joins in, telling Arslan, "Being a leader doesn't make you superior. A prince and a pauper, no difference. We're all on the same level." He then turns to Shin, saying, "You seem to have adjusted quickly here." Shin responds, "How did you figure out I'm from another world?" Dimitro replies, "I just realized it now, you fool." Unexpectedly, he shows no signs of shock. That night, Shin appears relaxed, standing in his freshly cleaned clothes, like a perfect housewife. Forget that. Arslan wants to discuss a new plan, but Shin cuts him off. "If you bring up your father again, I'll take you out. Today, we wash clothes. Who knows what tomorrow holds?" The two start bickering about what Dimitro put them through. Then, out of nowhere, they each summon their weapons, hurling them to the ground and charging at each other. Fists fly in every direction. It looks like the end. Their fight rages on until they both collapse, utterly spent. Meanwhile, Dimitro and the rest of the team watch from above, letting them resolve their issues. Switching scenes, we find Pascal back in the secret lab, asking about Arslan and Shin. The girl replies that when she woke up, neither of them was present. Pascal is taken aback, saying they must have gone after the king, growing increasingly worried and deciding to find them right away. We return to Shin and Arslan just as Dimitro starts to regain consciousness. He tells them, "Get up, we have a lot to accomplish." They quickly gather for a meeting, where Dimitro expresses that a coup against the king is impossible, given his numerous allies, especially those in the city around the castle. However, he suggests that if they head north, they might find people willing to support their cause. At that moment, Arslan protests, saying, "A coup." The royal guard alone numbers over 80,000 soldiers, but Dimitro insists on reaching out to the Zou tribe to recruit them. Arslan erupts, shouting, "What kind of nonsense is this? More than half of the Zou tribe already stands with the king. They're even part of the kingdom's elite forces." Shin adds that he once fought one of their warriors, who was nothing short of a brutal beast. In contrast, Dimitro explains that the Zou tribe has long endured harsh treatment from the kingdom's rulers, and he has a plan to reach out to them. He then looks at Louise and asks her to prepare, as she will lead this negotiation mission. Afterward, we see Louise tending to Arslan and Shin's injuries. She begins to share crucial information about this world, explaining that it has two types of beings, the Andras, who are humans, and the Ando, from whom the Zou tribe descends. She adds that the two lived in harmony until humans began to persecute them, with some kings even enslaving them. She also reveals that she is half human and half Ando. She then shares a significant secret. Dimitro once had a friend from the Zou tribe. We flash back to Dimitro walking through the forest when he is suddenly ambushed. He barely escapes by luck, losing his way and succumbing to fear until a young man named Louis appears. Dimitro offers everything he has for safe passage, but Louis reassures him and takes him along. Over time, they forge a strong bond and become close friends. One day, while walking through a kingdom street, Dimitro witnesses a man savagely beating an Ando tribesman. He intervenes, but the man turns on him. In that moment, Louis steps in to defend him, fighting bravely. Suddenly, a group ambushes them, and a fierce battle breaks out. Tragically, Louis suffers fatal injuries and dies. Dimitro stands in disbelief, overwhelmed by the deep sorrow of losing his friend. We shift back to Shin, who visits Aljo, a young man gifted with the strange power to predict events, but only after he loses consciousness. Shin inquires if he will ever return to his original realm, to which Aljo admits he remains uncertain. Surprisingly, Shin reveals he felt a strange energy that flickered in and out right here. Aljo investigates, only to discover that Shin had set a trap to knock him out and induce a vision. Yet the scheme backfires. Aljo informs him that he still experienced a vision. He mentions that only upon seeing the blue andro bird will he be able to return home. Shin is ecstatic and sets off to find the bird, but he falls into another trap laid by Aljo. It turns out the bird doesn't exist. Aljo merely sought revenge. It's evident that Aljo is not someone to be trifled with. Meanwhile, the Beast Squad is in the forest, having discovered that Shin and Arslan are nearby. As Shin wanders, a beast ambushes him from behind, asking, "Want a final wish before you die?" The beast attacks awkwardly, and Shin struggles to fend off the blows. Boom! The beast delivers a powerful kick, sending Shin crashing to the ground, nearly ending him until Arslan arrives just in time to block the attack. The beast taunts, "The king wants you alive, Arslan, but I could always tell him you died by accident." Furious, Shin charges at the beast with all his strength, but the beast retaliates by throwing him into the trees. Suddenly, an overwhelming power surges from Shin's weapon. Indeed, the weapon has transformed, reaching its ultimate potential. Shin and Arslan join forces, delivering a crushing blow that sends the beast sprawling, but it escapes before becoming shawarma. We then shift to the rest of the Beast Squad, where a bloody confrontation rages against the rebels. But here's the twist. Dimitro fights like a dragon. He charges at the Beast Commander, shouting, "Your time is up, you king's dog." A fierce battle erupts, and suddenly, a massive energy explosion engulfs the entire area. Everyone freezes, bewildered. No one understands what's happening. They fear the ground is collapsing and must flee immediately. As Shin and Arslan emerge from the woods, they find Pascal and Lysia waiting. It turns out Pascal orchestrated the explosion. This was his scheme all along, after learning about the king's soldiers attacking them. Brilliant. Just then, Dimitro and the rest of the team arrive. Upon discovering that Pascal once worked with the king, Dimitro's fury ignites, and he storms off. That evening, Pascal sits with Arslan and asks, "Where are you off to, my boy?" "Joining a band of rebels to take down the kingdom. I heard you attempted to kill your father. That's why he imprisoned you." Angry, Arslan retorts, "Don't call him my father." Pascal replies, "Even if he's not your biological father, don't forget he raised you, provided for you, and never neglected you." Arslan insists, "I must avenge my true father." "He killed him and usurped the throne," Pascal counters. "But do you even know why? Or are you just acting on emotion? Listen, my boy, I won't obstruct your path. But before you decide, you need to uncover the truth and gather evidence. And before you embark on a quest for vengeance, seek the truth first." In another location, Shin wanders the city searching for Dimitro. He asks a plump man, "Have you seen a tall fool wearing a hat with a feather?" Suddenly, Dimitro appears before him. They enter a building, and Shin reveals his intention to go to Babylon for something crucial. Dimitro replies, "I have no stake in your issues. You're all from the same world. Kill each other or make peace. It's not my concern." However, he warns that the king is currently heading to Babylon. Dimitro pulls out a map and decides to go there himself. Shin realizes the journey is perilous, with death lurking at every turn. Yet, this remains their sole opportunity to topple the king. At that moment, his defenses will be vulnerable, making him an easier target. Dimitro is found sitting among several of his allies. It's disclosed that he originates from the kingdom's north and has numerous followers poised to act at his command. Nonetheless, Dimitro insists he must first negotiate with the king before taking any action. Arslan, however, disagrees. He thinks the king would never permit negotiations and must be dealt with directly. Eventually, their maritime journey concludes, and they opt for a mountainous route to continue. Out of nowhere, a fierce storm hits, compelling them to seek refuge in a nearby cave. Inside, Shin seizes the moment to question Arslan about his desire to kill his father. Arslan then discloses a shocking truth. The king isn't his biological father. He merely murdered Arslan's real father to usurp the throne. Nothing more than that. Shin is profoundly unsettled by this revelation. The following day, the skies clear and they continue their trek. Shin appears ecstatic at the sight of snow blanketing the mountain. He flops onto the ground like a carefree child. But when he stands, everyone gasps at the enormous dragon footprints. Fear grips Shin as he mutters, "Just what we needed. Let's wrap this up and get out of here." Yet as he steps forward, the ground gives way and he plunges into an icy cavern. The rest of the group rushes after him, concerned for his safety. Philion, using his energy tracking ability, heads straight for Shin, but quickly returns. "What's going on?" "Yes, my friend, it's a dragon, one so massive it dwarfs any you can imagine. It seems the end is upon them." Shin and Arslan ready their weapons, but it's futile. The Dragon Lord unleashes a catastrophic ice storm, reducing everything to ash. Dimitro realizes they need to locate Aljo, the only one capable of saving them now. They start moving toward him, only to be encircled by another dragon. Is this the end? Not quite. Suddenly, flames swirl around Philion, revealing he's no ordinary dragon. He is the Dragon King. Philion recklessly charges at some of them, provoking the others to attack Arslan and Lysia. As always, Philion intervenes, crashing into them to protect his allies. But it doesn't stop there. He morphs into an extraordinary, unimaginable form, overpowering the rival dragon and forcing it to submit before reverting to his original shape. Meanwhile, Knowledge arrives at the scene. It's revealed he has a rare ability to command other dragons. He explains that this is a whole dragon family and they mistakenly think the group intends to hunt them, hence their hostility. No matter. After this, Dimitro leads the way. We discover they still have a long journey ahead before reaching the nearest city. Suddenly, the dragon family reappears, and what a mode of transport. It's perfect. Soon they arrive at a location near the city. As soon as they arrive, the dragons turn back, reluctant to stray far from their territory. It's then revealed they are now just a few miles from Babylon City. Shin asks, "What if the king reaches the city before us? That could ruin any chance I have of returning to Earth." Arslan replies, "If that occurs, we must confront him directly. It will be a fight for survival." Suddenly, Aljo suffers a heart attack and collapses. When he regains consciousness, he sees everyone gathered around him. He tells them he has witnessed visions of the future, filled with devastation. He reveals that the energy sustaining Andra is about to deplete, or more accurately, the end is imminent. We then shift to the king, who stands with one of his scientists. The scientist claims he has a method to reclaim Babylon City and restore the time gate there. When the king inquires why he would want to reopen the gate, he suddenly loses his temper and shouts, "One more word and I'll rip your head off, you fool." At that moment, the mercenary squad arrives before the king, informing him that the rebels have successfully allied with the Joe tribe and are now fully aware. The king turns to the beast beside him, named Ebel, and asks, "Who gave you those scars?" He yells at him for ignoring orders. "Your role is to observe and report back to me. If you ever act independently again, I'll take your head." Got it? Later, the mercenaries exit the kingdom's camp, but unexpectedly, the commander's bird returns with a new message. Pay attention to this moment, my friend. It will be important later. We find Shin and Arslan chatting before they sleep. Shin appears deeply troubled about his mother, but Arslan comforts him, saying, "You're not involved in our conflicts, and trust me, I will never leave you. I'll ensure you return to your homeland safely." The next morning, Shin awakens to find Arslan and Dimitro with one of their allies. He discovers that most city leaders and tribal chiefs have allied with them, forming a vast human coalition across all regions. Dimitro was filled with joy, hardly able to believe they had come this far. Meanwhile, Louise stood next to a peculiar bird, the same one that led the mercenary squad. Could this imply that Louise was a traitor? Shortly after, Shin, Lisa, and Arslan gathered, their faces bright with joy as their ally count increased daily. Shin faced Arslan and declared, "The only way to reclaim your right is by killing the king." Arslan, filled with rage, shouted back, "If I still breathe, it's to kill the king and reclaim my father's legacy." Shin countered, "Then tell me, do you even know why your father was murdered? Or are you just seeking revenge for revenge's sake?" Arslan, furious, shot back, "Don't overstep your limits. You're merely an outsider. Soon you'll return to your world, and I'll be free of your father's shadow." Hearing this, Shin's fury ignited. He landed a punch that sent Arslan crashing to the ground, then said, "Do you understand what it means to kill a king? It's a fight for survival, and that's what I fear for you, fool." He turned and walked away. We then shift to Pascal, who is searching through an old book for information about Babylon. Suddenly, his assistant burst in with urgent news. The life force in Andro was plummeting at an alarming rate, threatening the city's very existence. Pascal quickly reviewed his findings and told his assistant, Something unusual is happening. Yes, it's just like when the king took control of Andro. There's no doubt about it. The king is involved. He decided to head for Babylon immediately, despite the vast distance. But his assistant surprised him, revealing that he had constructed a private aircraft just for Pascal. Pascal was ecstatic, and they prepared to leave for Babylon right away. Meanwhile, the rebel team finally reached the outskirts of Babylon. The city was now visible just beyond the horizon. As they neared the city's entrance, Alja pulled out an ancient map and explained that one of the old towers was the main entry point. Using his foresight, he indicated the correct tower. Upon entering, they found the way blocked. But Arslan tugged on a specific stone, revealing a hidden gate. They descended, and Dimitro asked Mish to scout ahead to ensure the path was clear, which she did. As they entered, Felix spotted footprints, a clear indication they were too late. Still, they pressed on, beginning to scale the barrier before them, as it was their only way in. Suddenly, Arslan slipped, nearly falling from the ledge. Had it not been for Shin, who caught him just in time, they would have had to descend the walls again. At this moment, Dimitro addressed Arslan. "We didn't come here to kill the king. We want him to step down, that's all. Our aim is to end the oppression, nothing more." Arslan, his voice fierce, replied, "Have you ever experienced the loss of a father before even knowing him? That man is no father to me. He's the murderer of my father and the usurper of his throne. He twisted everything for his own benefit." Dimitro responded, "Bloodshed is never the solution, but more importantly, do not strike until I've spoken with the king." They rejoined the group and continued until they reached the gates of Babylon. Arslan raced toward the gate, pouring every ounce of strength into his sprint, when a devastating attack struck him, nearly finishing him off. Indeed, the mercenary group awaited their arrival. They were one step ahead. A fierce battle ignited between the two factions. Commander versus commander, Albate sought retribution against both Arslan and Shin. Felix charged at the beast, launching himself with all his might until he finally took it down. Mashi confronted the mechanical monster, leaping high and delivering a devastating blow that obliterated it instantly. One by one, the mercenaries fell, their commander among them. However, Albate targeted both Arslan and Shin, intent on their destruction. But then, Arslan's weapon unlocked its true potential. Power surged through him. As Albate charged once more, Alia intervened, declaring, "Leave this beast to me." "I know what to do," Arslan replied. "We're out of time." He sprinted toward Babylon's gate. The instant his hand touched the wall, the gate swung open. Together, Arslan, Shin, and Lisa stepped inside. Shin attempted to dissuade Arslan from seeking vengeance. "Talk to the king first. Don't act recklessly." In response, Arslan delivered a punch that sent Shin sprawling, his fury propelling him forward. At that moment, the king was preparing to activate the portal to another realm. Suddenly, Arslan's voice echoed, calling out to him. Yes, the moment of revenge was finally at hand. We returned to Alja, who cast a magical barrier against Albate, but it shattered completely. Then Louise unveiled her true self, stating she cared nothing for the king or the rebels, only for wealth. Dimitro surprised her with a grin, saying, "I knew you were a traitor from the start, but I decided to enjoy myself a bit. You know, I thrive on the excitement of adventure." She attacked him frantically, but he effortlessly deflected her strikes. He was the dragon, delivering 2 swift strikes, one to the left and one to the right. Louise was engulfed in confusion, unable to counter his moves. Meanwhile, Felix and Mashi relentlessly assaulted Albite, pummeling him until he was nearly defeated, only for him to vanish suddenly. We returned to Dimitro and Louise, who lunged at him with all her strength, shouting, "If you knew I was a traitor, why didn't you end me? Why let me stay all this time?" She slammed him down, demanding, "Show me what you've got." He replied coolly, "I know you sold our secrets for money to support your family, but if you think our bond was fake, I know it wasn't." His words hit her hard, and she replied, "Even if you forgive me, I can never forgive myself. Before joining you, I was part of a mercenary group. No, I was its leader." Rage surged through her again as she lunged at Dimitro, but this time neither moved. Then she broke down in tears. Dimitro said softly, "If you've given up on yourself, I never will." Alias stepped forward, offering her a handkerchief. His role was complete. Someone nearby commented, "Well done, old man. We can't imagine how we would have survived without you." Thus, Dimitro managed to soothe Louise and bring her back to their side. As for Felix and Mashi, they subdued Albita, pummeling him until he was on the verge of death. And just like before, he disappeared. Finally, we find Arslan now standing face to face with the king. He summoned his weapon and charged with all his might, shouting, "I will avenge you, father. I will reclaim your throne," but the king pushed him back, responding coldly, "I have no clue what you're talking about. I did nothing of the sort." Suddenly, the portal to Earth activated, unleashing a wave of immense energy throughout the room. And here comes Shin, joining the fray, standing before Arslan and questioning, is he truly the king's son or just adopted? The king firmly asserts, "Arslan is my son and he has no ties to anyone else." As the king concealed his magical weapon, Albed suddenly appeared, recklessly charging at Arslan and knocking him down. He attacked again, and it seemed Arslan's end was imminent. But at the last moment, the king sacrificed himself, whisking Arslan away to safety. Yes, the king has fallen, the pens have been lifted, and the pages have dried. The gate powers up completely, and both Shin and Arslan launch an attack on Albed. Albed dodges effortlessly, vanishing into the earthly realm. What on earth is going on? I can't make sense of any of this. The energy from the gate shifts dramatically, and Albed vanishes from sight. The gate seals shut, restoring everything to its previous state. Everyone converges, and Pascal arrives at the scene. The king takes his last breaths, telling Arslan he can now leave Andorra in his hands. He passes away peacefully, leaving Arslan in deep sorrow. But was that really his biological father, or not? Did Albed genuinely escape to the earthly realm, or was he completely erased from existence? The news of the king's death will surely shake the kingdom. What lies ahead? Will Arslan and Shin keep quiet about what transpired? Absolutely not. This story is far from finished. Beneath this narrative lies another. Following the king's demise, Demetro realizes the revolution has concluded. He tells the team, "We need to take charge before chaos engulfs the kingdom." As for Arslan, he retreats into his thoughts, reflecting on the king's sacrifice for him. Though Arslan initially aimed to destroy him, Shin steps in to console him. Suddenly, Arslan admits that guilt is consuming him, and he acted too hastily. He should have consulted the king first. Every time he thinks of his real father, only the king's face appears. He admits the hatred ran deep, and I should have heeded Bakal's advice to seek the truth before acting. Shin responds, "Everything you said is spot on. However, the moment for regret has passed, my friend. From this point forward, you must pursue the complete truth and turn your questions into undeniable answers." Indeed, they both make their way back to the gate. Arslan states, "I need to understand the king's reason for opening the gate to the earthly realm." Shin replies, "As long as I'm stuck here, I'll stay by your side until you uncover the truth and I find a way back." At that moment, Lisa calls to them from below, and they descend from the walls. Shin, ever eager, leaps down swiftly, but as Arslan warns him to be careful, Shin slips. His fall looks fatal, but to whom? This is the unstoppable Shin. He surprises everyone, revealing it was a joke, saying to Arslan, "I beat you again," as usual. Meanwhile, Pascal continues his investigation, stating that all research was functioning correctly, and the gate should have remained active. What occurred is truly bizarre and requires an explanation. Pascal and his assistant persist in their search, proposing a theory. As long as conditions here are stable, the disaster must have originated elsewhere. In the earthly realm, Lisa and Shin join them. Pascal says, "I'm sorry, but I still can't assist you in returning to the earthly realm." Shin responds, "I'm confident you'll figure it out. And if not, I'm strong enough to find my own way. But more importantly, we need to support Arslan. He's feeling down after everything that transpired, and I think I have a plan." Shin approaches Arslan saying, "Honestly, I'm bored, and I have no choice but to unleash my energy on you." "Why me?" "That's just how I feel." He continues, "You look quite good when you're feeling down and scared." I notice that. Arslan gets angry, drawing his weapon, and a fierce battle ignites between them, strikes flying from both sides. I am Shin, the uncle of the mighty. It's clear that Shin is doing this to pull Arslan out of his mental fog and help him regain clarity. The fight rages on until both are utterly exhausted and unable to continue. Shin declares, "As long as I've found you in my life, I won't abandon you until you become a true man." Let's go. He tries to provoke Arslan, and it works. Arslan attacks recklessly, sending Shin crashing to the ground and causing him to drop his weapon. "You think it ends like this, my friend?" No chance. Then Arslan strikes again with all his strength, slamming Shin to the ground. Yes, this is the real fight. Now Arslan understands that Shin is only trying to help him, especially when he says, "You must stop fixating on the past and return to yourself. Many require your assistance, and as a prince, that is now your duty." Arslan grins and responds, "All right, my friend. we shift to Dimitro, who has gathered the team to reveal that the kingdom is engulfed in corruption and chaos, with nobles and corrupt leaders attacking cities and villages, spreading destruction everywhere. He adds, "We need to regain control of this situation swiftly." Suddenly, Louise surprises everyone by saying, "I no longer belong in this team after my actions, so I've decided to leave." Dimitro counters, stating, "This is when we need you the most. If you've erred, this is your chance to make amends." Louise then reconsiders, stating, "I will do everything possible to restore order to the kingdom." At that moment, Shin and Arslan arrive, and Arslan's spirits lift once again. He asks Dimitro to allow him to join in the fight against injustice in the kingdom. Dimitro suddenly laughs, saying, "You fool, you've been part of the team for quite some time." Then Pascal, his assistant, and Lisa show up. Pascal tells Shin that they will wrap up their investigation here and head back to the royal laboratory, hoping to find a way back to the Earth realm. Dimitro then states, "We must return to the capital on our way. We will attempt to reclaim the areas overtaken by corruption." Shin bursts with joy and excitement, declaring, "I'm the leader of our journey back." This is fantastic. Meanwhile, a certain noble has gathered soldiers and begun brutally attacking people and stealing food. He even proclaims that the village now belongs to him, and its inhabitants are his slaves from this day forward. Before he can finish, a dagger appears at his feet. Yes, it's Dimitro and the team. They have arrived. This is your darkest hour. The soldiers charge, but it's futile. They face the rebels. The rebels retaliate, teaching them a lesson they won't forget. Suddenly, that vile noble lunges at Arslan and Shin. "Step aside. Next, over there, your grace." The noble flees, escaping the fate of his men. Later, the village chief gathers with the team, thanking Dimitro for standing by them. When Shin asks if the noble learned his lesson, the chief replies, "No." He looks anxious, fearing the corrupt noble will return as soon as the team leaves. Dimitro urged everyone to hurry, racing against time, calling on allies to help restore order amid the chaos sweeping the lands. Yet Arslan explained that even if they did, regaining control of all regions simultaneously would be nearly impossible. He stressed that the people themselves must participate in reviving hope, as that is the only path to salvation. Suddenly, the village chief interrupted, stating that none of this would be feasible without a new king. He urged Arslan to declare himself king of Andorra, but Arslan completely ignored his words, as if he hadn't heard them. The next day, Arslan proposed to his companions that they negotiate with the corrupt man attacking the village, hoping to persuade him to join their cause and protect it instead of harming it. Dimitro immediately agreed, taking Ioga, Shin, and Arslan to the man's residence. But something odd occurred upon their arrival. There was no one there. They entered the mansion and explored a bit until Ioga alerted them that someone was inside one of the rooms. And indeed, when they opened the door, they found the man seated, gripped by fear, shouting, "What brought you here?" Arslan replied, "You promised not to oppress the villagers again. You have no right to do so. Someone in your position should assist the people, not rob them." Suddenly, the man became even more terrified, pleading for them to save him immediately. In a flash, he was killed. But why? And how did it happen? There it was. The bait had appeared. He was the one behind it all. It seemed he had been afflicted by a dreadful curse, transforming him into a terrifying demon. Everyone drew their weapons as the bait launched into a frenzied assault. Shin intercepted him, and Dimitro struck again, while Arslan took a small step back. But the bait caught him off guard, injuring his shoulder. Suddenly, Arslan's shoulder transformed, unleashing a wave of terrifying spirits. Arslan and Shin fought with all their might, but the spirits rose again, surrounding them from every angle. At that moment, the bait seized Dimitro and hurled him through the castle window, crashing him to the ground, nearly killing him. But just then, someone appeared and saved him at the last moment. It was the mercenary commander, but why did he come to his rescue? We flash back to a previous moment, revealing that the bait had slaughtered the mercenary team in Babylon and even betrayed the commander. Miraculously, the commander managed to survive. A fierce clash erupted between the commander and the bait, with the former gaining the advantage and landing a decisive hit. Ultimately, the bait escaped before he could be completely finished off. Dimitro expressed his gratitude to the commander, known as Kor. Kor's response was icy. "I didn't do this for you. My only goal is to eliminate the bait." Still, Dimitro urged him to join their team. Kor paused for a moment, then agreed, but only under one condition. "Once I deal with the bait, I'm out." Meanwhile, we shifted to Dimitrov, the extermination commander, who was consulting with an aide about a corrupt noble attacking their island with advanced ships. At that moment, Pascal's team arrived to update Dimitrov on their findings. He clarified that the gateway linking Andorra to Earth wasn't singular. There were two, one in Babylon and another on Earth. Thus, activating just the Babylon gate wouldn't suffice. In fact, it could lead to catastrophic consequences, similar to what happened to the bait. The only viable solution was to open both gates simultaneously from each side. He then turned to Shin, assuring him, "We will find a way to bring you back." Additionally, the energy sustaining life in Andorra was rapidly diminishing, and without a solid solution, the entire world could collapse. Meanwhile, tensions were rising between Felix and Misha on one side, and Cor and Louise on the other. Louise attempted to defuse the situation, but Misha recklessly launched an attack. Out of nowhere, a spear pierced through the chaos. It was Jared, the leader of the Badoon, stepping in to calm things down. He stated, "I know these two were once criminals, but they are still part of our group. I swear anyone who dares to harm them will face me." And indeed, he managed to restore order. In another part of the island, war erupted at the outskirts. A noble threatened the inhabitants, declaring, "Surrender, or you'll be eliminated one by one." But the response was fierce and resolute. "Stand your ground and recognize who you're addressing. Your doom has come, wretch." The battle commenced, and the enemy fleet was annihilated in a spectacular display of power. After the skirmish, the team regrouped. Dimitro asked Jared to help secure the northern territories, while the rest headed toward the capital to reclaim the opposing regions. Later, Arslan pulled Dimitro and Shin aside, warning that sending the Badoon alone to pacify the north would end in failure. People still viewed them with fear, believing they were savage beasts. That's why a mixed team of humans and Badoon was essential. Here, Shin teased him, saying, "First time I've seen a human with a dog's brain speak wisely." Arslan playfully grabbed him, pretending to threaten him for the joke. We then shifted to the girls sitting together. Suddenly, Lisha exclaimed, "I wish I could do something to save Andorra from destruction." Louise replied with a tease, "Simple, marry Arslan instead of remaining a spinster." They erupted in laughter, while Lysia blushed deeply, her face turning crimson. That night, Pascal sat with his assistant. When Arslan entered and inquired if he had found anything about his origins, Pascal responded, "While searching in the lab, I discovered old records. I found out that your real father's name was Arzam, the former king, before Lisan took the throne." The shocking revelation is that Arzam and Lisan were once allies. Together, they conquered the northern continent and were the first to uncover the Babylon Gate. That was all the information they had gathered so far. Many ancient records remained in the lab, and Pascal vowed to continue searching for the complete truth. The following day, the team divided into two groups as planned. Radio and his team headed north, while Dimitro and the others advanced directly toward the capital. Before long, they arrived at the royal castle. As they stood at the gate, servants rushed to greet them, followed by the captain of the guard and soldiers, all astonished that Arslan was still alive. The prince's return brought them immense joy. The captain inquired about the individuals with him. Arslan replied, "They're my allies." No need to worry. They entered the castle, where servants informed him that over half the soldiers had deserted after the king's demise. Dimitro remarked, "I bet they've become bandits and mercenaries." That's how the kingdom descended into turmoil. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupted outside. They hurried outside to see the royal guards facing off against Felix and Misha, ready to clash. The captain commanded them to stay within the palace and remain vigilant. But Arslan urged him to lower his weapon. "I understand you're trying to protect me, but they're my friends, not foes." "This isn't necessary." The guards complied without hesitation. Shin, grinning, commented, "You truly embody a prince. Everyone heeds your words." Later, Arslan wandered the castle alone and entered his father's chamber. He picked up his father's dagger and approached the royal throne deep in thought. Dimitro called out, "That chair is just like any other. The throne holds no value. It's the person who occupies it that counts. Always remember, as long as this throne is vacant, chaos will reign in the kingdom." Then he turned and walked away. We transitioned to another scene where the minister conversed with Gradio. He noted that Dimitro was brilliant, never expecting humans and Badoon to unite. Suddenly, he felt something unusual approaching from the forest. An army of ghosts was advancing toward the castle. Clearly, the bait had summoned them. The news spread rapidly. The captain assembled the troops, preparing for combat. But spirits were low. Everyone whispered, "This is the end." That's when the team arrived. Dimitro stepped forward, saying, "Step back and enjoy the spectacle." Even Arslan was ready to join the fight. The captain attempted to stop him, fearing for his safety. But Arslan was adamant. He took Shin and the others to confront the spirits. A fierce battle broke out, with the team taking down the ghosts one by one. Yet their numbers kept increasing. Suddenly, a ghost ambushed Misha, nearly ending her life. At the last second, Kor intervened and rescued her. For the first time, Misha expressed gratitude. And there, watching the fight, stood the bait, now fully transformed into a demon, consumed by rage and destruction. After a brief moment, Arslan was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, a storm descended upon everyone with wild fury. Shin endured blow after blow. It felt like the end of everything. From within the house, a massive wave of spirits surged forth. Spirits with no purpose other than to eliminate the prince. They charged fiercely and no one could withstand them. Kor joined the fray, but the house became even more besieged, and the spirits multiplied rapidly. You think this is the end? Not yet. Suddenly, the royal guard appeared, entering the battlefield with bravery. They provided full support, taking down spirits one after another. Then came a magnificent moment. A grand battle uniting the royal guard, rebels, and the stateless, all fighting together. Yes, this was the long-awaited scene in its entirety. The house continued to battle against Shin, but Dimitro struck its leg with a dagger, distracting it. Arslan then leaped and delivered a powerful blow to its eye, leaving an unforgettable mark, and once again, greatness revealed itself. As expected, the house retreated before it could be completely destroyed. Everyone present celebrated the glorious victory, and joy filled the atmosphere. Elsewhere, we shift to Pascal, who was in the royal laboratory with his assistant. He was astonished to see research scattered everywhere and remarked, "This must be what happened after the king left the castle." Suddenly, a voice called out from behind him. Indeed, it was Roni, Pascal's companion and the head of the lab's research, thrilled to see Pascal back. The two friends reunited and started to investigate the mysterious drain of life energy in Andorra, which teetered on the edge of disaster. Soon, the entire team convened within the castle walls. Kor announced his intent to hunt down the house and eradicate it, but he recognized it had transformed into a lethal creature he couldn't confront alone. At that moment, Louis joined him, with Dimitro following, sending Felix and Misha to assist them. Out of nowhere, Arslan insisted that more help was necessary and dispatched a squad of royal guards to join them. During their trek, they encountered something deeply troubling. Indeed, the farmlands were starting to wither, suffering from the depletion of Andorra's essential energy. Upon hearing the news, Dimitro cautioned the team, warning that if the populace sensed hopelessness, chaos would engulf the kingdom. He emphasized the need to support the citizens, provide sustenance, and reassure them until Pascal and his aide could resolve the crisis. Later, Arslan took Shin to a hidden spot to discuss something significant. He led him down to the castle's dungeon, where Shin recognized it as the same location of his initial arrival. Arslan suggested, "Try shouting or doing something. Maybe you'll return to your world." Ignoring him, Shin climbed a peculiar staircase and snapped, "What are you thinking? Forget about me. Focus on the kingdom that's about to fall apart. You're a useless prince." Arslan's anger flared, and he lunged at Shin, who dodged, causing the ground to give way beneath him. Arslan attempted to follow, but ended up falling too. It appeared to be the end for both of them. However, Arslan managed to grip the walls of the pit with his weapon, while Shin noticed a peculiar ladder and jumped towards it. Arslan followed suit. With no way to ascend, they chose to keep descending. Arslan confessed he was unfamiliar with this place. As they ventured deeper, total darkness enveloped them. Visibility was non-existent. Suddenly, a voice behind them inquired, "Who are you? What brings you here?" They quickly turned and asked, "Are you human or jinn? What's your story?" Arslan approached and found a chained prisoner sitting on the ground. One of the Eden. His name was Frem. When Arslan inquired about his identity, Frem replied, "We served in the royal castle, and somehow we ended up here." Arslan asked, "Who locked you up in this place?" Frem answered King Rame, "Yes, the true Arslan." Thus, the tale began to unfold. We learned that Frem was the commander of the kingdom's elite forces, always executing the king's orders without question. But a single error led the king to imprison him here. Still, Frem held affection for the king. He bore no resentment for his fate, as King Ram had always served with loyalty until he changed drastically due to an outsider. Now we flash back to an earlier time. King Zarin and his brother Lazan stumbled upon a body near the castle. By sheer luck, the man was still alive. Frem remarked, "It was obvious he didn't belong to our world. He must have come from Earth." The king brought him to the castle and welcomed him with open arms. This man was a brilliant scientist, an extraordinary researcher, and the king was genuinely impressed. He even had the ability to traverse between Andorra and Earth with remarkable ease. One day, the man told the king, "While Andorra is abundant in energy, Earth is rich in technology. Planes for travel, phones for communication, devastating weapons, and unmatched powers." The following day, he presented the king with a firearm. The king was clueless about it. Suddenly, the scientist fired at a vase, shattering it. Both the king and Frem stood in shock. Then, the man proposed a project to merge Earth's technology with Andorra's life energy. The king was so captivated by the concept that he expelled all scientists and researchers from the palace. When Zorain attempted to intervene, the king shouted at him. One day, the scientist expressed admiration for the weapon used by the Zaraib, as it combined Andorra's life energy with the physical prowess of its people. At that moment, the king lost all clarity, both figuratively and literally, and embraced the idea. Then the scientist suggested building a city named Babylon to connect the two worlds, promising the king eternal fame. As he planned to introduce Earth's technology to Andorra, Zoran warned him, "If you proceed, you will ruin the kingdom." But the king yelled at him once more. When tensions peaked, Frem confronted the scientist, saying, "I'm sure you're deceiving the king. There's a hidden malevolence you're plotting." Frem unsheathed his weapon, declaring, "Surrender, or I'll take your life and reveal your secrets." The man stepped forward with confidence, then suddenly screamed, injuring himself while calling for the guards. He persuaded the king that Frem had committed treachery. The king's punishment was severe, not a minor sentence, but a death sentence. They restrained him, assaulted him, and threw him into the abyss. Since that day, Frem had languished in that prison. Arslan inquired, "What did that scientist do with the vital energy?" Frem answered, "I have no idea what transpired after that." Shin asked for the scientist's name, but Frem struggled to remember. Shin remarked, "If that man could traverse between Andorra and Earth, there must be a way for me to return home." As soon as Frem caught the scent of Earth, rage consumed him. He broke free and charged at Shin. Is this where it ends? Not a chance. Out of nowhere, a magical stone emerged from Shin, unleashing a massive wave of energy that enveloped everything. In a flash, both Shin and Arslan found themselves in the realm of Earth. They stood there, frozen in shock, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Arslan was stunned, while Shin was filled with joy, realizing they had finally returned to Earth. Shin took Arslan along and made his way to his home. The doorbell rang, and as soon as his mother opened the door, she enveloped him in a tight embrace, tears streaming down her face. Only then did he grasp how worried she had been, not knowing his whereabouts. At that moment, Shin introduced Arslan, saying, "He's the one who helped me return here more than anyone else." "You heard me right," but his mother replied, confused, not understanding a word he said. Suddenly, Shin explained that he had been in another world, specifically the kingdom of Andorra, and that Arslan was a native, even a prince. She responded, "Wait, I don't understand any of this." She ushered them inside, and Shin began narrating the entire saga to her. Yet he remarked, "I thought you wouldn't believe a word of this, but you don't seem shocked at all." His mother, an archaeologist, replied that despite her astonishment, she was trying to keep her emotions in check. Moreover, she had read numerous tales about other worlds, and many, including her and his father, believed in such things. Then Shin told her he needed to check on his father at the lab to ensure his safety. Meanwhile, she prepared a meal to celebrate their return. Shin felt overwhelming joy. Finally, he could enjoy real Earth food again. After all the frogs and bizarre dishes he had consumed in Andorra, Arslan was equally amazed by the food. Once they finished their meal, Shin began detailing everything that had transpired in Andorra. Suddenly, Arslan noticed a photo hanging in the room and asked Shin, "What's this?" Shin explained that it was a photo, a piece of technology from Earth. Then, his mother showed Arslan another picture, one of Shin as a child. At that moment, Arslan looked shocked, as if he had seen something unusual. They all decided to rest for a bit, and Shin told Arslan they would visit his father in the morning. Being a scientific researcher, his father would surely help him find a way back. The next day, Shin took Arslan on a brief tour, enjoying a wonderful day together, introducing him to Earth. Arslan was entranced by everything he encountered. They then made their way to the lab where they met Sanga, Shin's father. As soon as Sanga spotted his son, he rushed over joyfully, relieved to see him safe. Shin then introduced Arslan to his father, explaining that he had come from Andorra. As usual, his father showed no signs of surprise. Instead, he stated, "I knew you were there." But what did he mean by that? They sat down and Shin began recounting everything, asking for help to return Arslan to Andorra. Sanga explained that the crystal which had transported them was discovered by his mother and likely contained immense energy, even the power for instantaneous travel. He reassured him, "Don't worry, I'll definitely find a solution." Shin then urged his father, explaining that Arslan was the son of Andorra's former king, whose uncle Dels had murdered his father and taken the throne. However, Dels met his demise later, plunging Andorra into complete turmoil. Sanga managed to soothe them, assuring that Arslan would return to Andorra shortly. Out of nowhere, Arslan seemed to zone out, lost in thought. He stood still, and then a rush of memories overwhelmed him. A fleeting image appeared in his mind, Shin as a young boy. Indeed, it bore the emblem of the Andorran kingdom. What's the reality behind this? I can't be wrong. In a flash, Arslan dashed back to the lab, confronting Sanga, saying he doubted their tale due to stories of another realm, but he was there himself. Shin attempted to calm him, but Arslan had already pieced everything together. Yes, he had vividly recalled the world that once revealed itself to them. Then Sanga shot him, signaling what seemed to be the end. Shin stood there, utterly stunned. Nothing made sense anymore. Sanga suddenly proclaimed he would eliminate Arslan just as he had lost everything. Indeed, Sanga was responsible for King Zoram's death. Furious, Arslan attempted to summon his weapon, but it didn't work. Sanga taunted him, asking if he thought he was still in Andorra. He then beckoned Shin to come closer, but Arslan intervened, revealing a shocking revelation. Shin was not his child, he was Delzal's son. But how? Why? In that instant, Arslan plunged a dagger into Sanga, took Shin, and fled, disappointment and sorrow hanging heavy in the air. Shin found himself paralyzed, leading us back to a flashback to uncover the story's origins. We knew Sanga had once been an ordinary scientist, eagerly awaiting his child's birth. Tragically, his son perished at birth, leaving him engulfed in sorrow. By chance, he discovered a way to travel to Andorra, where he encountered the king. Upon realizing there was an energy source, he transformed. Greed consumed him, his heart filled with insatiable desire. He began scheming to harness that energy for immense wealth. And since Andorra lacked technology, the king was astonished when he saw a lighter. Yes, you heard that right, my friend. At that moment, the king informed Sanga that Delzal had a terminally ill son, one no one could heal, and offered to entrust him to Sanga, hoping Earth's technology could help. Sanga assured him that Earth's medical field was highly advanced, and they would surely find a cure. Delzal hesitated initially, but he had no other options to save his son. He went to say goodbye and entrusted his son to Sanga. Sanga brought the child to Earth, where he received successful treatment. Sanga provided him a home, and as time passed, the boy grew and became attached to him. And that child, by the way, was Shin, my friend. Later, Sanga persuaded the king to construct the city of Babylon and to open the dimensional gate using the energy source, allowing access to the surface anytime and letting Earth's technology flow into the kingdom. He claimed such an achievement could immortalize his name and legacy. The king was greatly impressed by this vision and set off for Babylon. However, there, he uncovered Sanga's treachery. He had done it all for the life energy. The king tried to intervene, but Sanga shot him down. When Delzal arrived, he found his brother taking his last breaths. He pleaded for his son's return, but Sanga retorted, "Come and take him if you can." Then he vanished, never to return. Afterward, Arslan went home, determined to confront his mother with the truth. At that moment, she revealed that after Sanga's actions, returning to Andorra was no longer an option. That's why she had cared for him, raising him as her own. Suddenly, she handed him the royal seal, disclosing that they were actually blood relatives. They entered the room to rest for a bit. As Shin lay down, memories began to overwhelm him. He recalled witnessing his true father's death, helpless to intervene. Then, out of nowhere, Arslan remarked, "Now I finally grasp why Delzal was so adamant about rebuilding Babylon." Indeed, Shin was his sole aim all these years. He wanted to reach you. Upon discovering the truth, Shin fell into deep despair. He stopped eating and drinking. Arslan attempted to assist, but it was futile. At that moment, Arslan resolved to confront Sanga directly and speak with him. He approached the lab, but the guards obstructed his way. Sangha brought him into his office, gun drawn, warning, "Try to drug me, and I'll end you." Arslan responded calmly, "I'm just here to ask you something. I'll leave right after." He inquired, "Do you genuinely love Shin? Do you view him as your son?" Sangha replied, "Even if he's not my blood, I'm the one who deserves him most. I raised him. I taught him everything. To me, he's my son. More than that, all I desire is for us to reunite as a family." Arslan realized Sangha meant no harm to him or Shin, provided they kept their distance. In fact, he might even assist them in returning to Andorra one day. He returned to Shin, sharing that he had visited Sangha at the lab. He recounted everything that transpired, urging, "You need to talk to him. Don't repeat my mistake. I should have consulted Delzal before deciding. And you, Shin, must completely forget about Andorra and go speak with Sangha. After that, you can choose your own path." In that moment, Shin expressed gratitude to Arslan, promising to talk to Sangha. Meanwhile, the team continued their search for Shin and Arslan. Suddenly, Alicia rushes to Dimitro with a soldier, alerting him that a guard spotted them heading to the castle prison. She clarifies that this prison was where Shin first appeared. Grotto then enters the prison to investigate, and afterward, they convene for a meeting. Then Bakal shows up, revealing he has found a method to travel between Andorra and Earth. Everyone is taken aback, their faces reflecting disbelief. Bakal starts explaining, disclosing that ancient records mention powerful crystals known as Barren Blue, which once enabled effortless travel between the two worlds. However, that power was eventually shattered. Yet, if anyone finds even a shard, it would respond and activate again. These crystals react solely to heartbeats and strong emotions like rage, fear, or curiosity. This clarifies Shin's presence here. The energy must have lain dormant within him, allowing his passage into this realm. By the same reasoning, there must be a purpose for their arrival on Earth. Pascal interjects, "Enough talk. Let's initiate the search." We return to Shin, who stands with Arslan waiting for Sangha outside one of his former labs, specifically the very first lab he ever worked in. Just then, Sangha arrives and turns to Arslan asking, "What brings you here?" Arslan assures him he won't be a nuisance, stating he's only here to listen. Shin steps forward, addressing Sangha. "Even after you killed Zaraim's family and caused great suffering in Andorra, I still can't hate you. But why?" At that moment, Sangha reveals a crystal from his body. Yes, it's Barren Blue, just as Pascal described. He tells Shin this stone facilitated travel between Andorra and Earth, and in that instant, that's what allowed him to traverse both worlds. Sangha continues, explaining that Andorra harbors a terrifying energy source, which it has now become the main source of all current technology. Shin yells in anger, "You're about to obliterate an entire world for your own gain." Sangha coldly responds, "Let it be destroyed or even burn. Everything in this world comes with its own set of gains and losses. And where was I supposed to find the funds to treat you? And where was I meant to find the cash to help you out? You were the initial recipient of this energy. When Shin realizes Sangha is the cause of its decline, he demands an immediate halt. Sangha, however, sees it differently, claiming Andorra contributed little and is already in ruins. Join forces with me, and we can redefine the future of Earth. Moreover, I'm on the brink of uncovering a method to rejuvenate Earth's energy post-Andorra's downfall. Shin responds, his fury palpable. "You can't be human. You're utterly deranged." Enraged, Sangha pulls out his gun, aiming it at Shin. "If you refuse to assist me, then don't obstruct my path." In a last-ditch effort, Arslan lunges at Sangha, successfully teleporting Shin away. But Sangha fires at Arslan, sending him crashing down, seemingly ready to finish him off. But do you genuinely believe this is the conclusion? Certainly not. The desolate blue energy suddenly activates, whisking them all away. We find ourselves in the midst of a fierce confrontation as the team faces Albeit. Indeed, they've tracked him down, vowing not to return until he is completely annihilated. Albeit charges in recklessly, but a strange energy surges around them, dropping Shin and Arslan right in front of Albeit. What dreadful luck, my friend! The team stands in shock. No one comprehends what just transpired, while Albeit smirks and taunts, "Welcome back." He launches another reckless assault, but the team deftly dodges. Shin mutters dryly, "Arslan, Andorra is vast and infinite. Yet fate insists on bringing us here, I swear. Can we just perish and escape this wretched luck? I've had enough." They draw their weapons, and a brutal clash erupts between the team and Albeit. The group confronts the specters one by one. Meanwhile, Shin and Arslan continue their battle against Albeit. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, they pause to discuss Baron Blue, questioning, can Shin wield that power again? Albeit snaps, shouting, enough with the chatter. Come and die already. Shin retorts, can't you see we're in the middle of something important? Shut up until we're finished, will you? They really shouldn't have said that. Albeit's fury escalates, unleashing a massive wave of specters, attacking them with full force. But suddenly someone intervenes, blocking the attack in an instant. Yet a demonic hand erupts from Albeit's body, sinking its claws into the core. It seems he's on the brink of death. In that moment, Arslan and Shin charge at Albeit, striking him fiercely and saving the core. Then, without warning, Albeit begins to scream, displaying signs of excruciating pain. It's evident that the forces of evil have fully converged within him. He morphs into a horrifying and savage beast, more terrifying than ever. The team stands frozen in shock. No one knows how to respond. Albeit has completely transformed, and no one can rival his newfound strength. Core exclaims, Albeit was already fearsome when he was normal. What about now that he's lost his sanity and become this? We're doomed. Albeit lunges at Misha, but Lewis leaps in just in time, barely saving her. Furious, Misha retaliates, only to realize she's facing the Demon King himself. Albeit strikes Misha with brutal force, and in a desperate move, Felix sacrifices himself to pull her away at the last moment. He is utterly obliterated. It appears to be his end. Misha, consumed by rage, charges again to avenge him, but she's about to receive a fatal blow until Lewis sacrifices herself as well, saving her once more. The team falls one by one. No one can withstand the onslaught. In that moment, they decide to retreat towards the castle. Quickly, before they're all annihilated. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Yuga tries to connect with Andorra to uncover the cause of the energy drain, but he collapses immediately. At the same time, Pascal identifies the exact location right in the heart of the ocean. Yes, that is where the energy loss originates. Pascal begins to suspect that a device for energy extraction is concealed there, possibly the source of this catastrophe. Shin and Arslan show up, and the team celebrates their return, especially when Shin reveals they were in the Earth realm. He validates the theory regarding the energy extraction device. When the assistant inquires about his certainty, Shin responds, "It's straightforward. My father created that device." They also uncover Shin's true identity. He's the son of Delzal, the late king. Later, the group is seen digging trenches around the castle, gearing up for the confrontation with Albeit. Meanwhile, Lesya instructs Villeron to transform. They've split the mission among themselves. Arslan, Shin, and Pascal will head to the energy drop zone, while the rest confront Albeit directly. And indeed, Albeit is visible in the distance. But for whom? We are the rebels. The area erupts in chaos as Albeit arrives. They had laid a perfect trap. Earth's father makes a grand entrance. Sinan and Shin hurry toward the energy source. Suddenly, Albeit grabs Villeron midair. It seems the end is near. Villeron tumbles off the dragon, crashing onto Albeit. He surveys his surroundings and states, "There's no escape now. I've reached my limit, but I believe in all of you. I know you'll save Andorra." He pulls an energy bomb from his gear, ignites it inside Albeit, and sets the dragon ablaze. Yes, Pascal has given his life to protect the kingdom. Everyone stands in shock, unable to comprehend what just transpired. Dimitro orders his assistant to search for Pascal as they witnessed him fall into the forest. The others resolve to eliminate the monster regardless of the consequences. The assistant hands him a grenade, explaining its high explosive power crafted by Pascal for this moment. The assistant then sets off to locate Pascal. Suddenly, Cora snatches the grenade from Dimitro, declaring, "No one is finishing this beast but me. I have an old score to settle, and it ends today." Albeit attacks the team again, unleashing a terrifying battle. His power knows no bounds, and he can fully regenerate. He lunges at Misha once more, but Dimitro intervenes just in time. Things spiral out of control. It genuinely seems like the end. But then, Dimitro unveils his strategy. He'll divert the monster's attention while Cora sneaks in to detonate its core. Radio contacts Cora, warning, "This is your only chance. You must succeed, no matter what it takes." They charge forward, striking him repeatedly. Yet their blows seem ineffective. Then, at just the right moment, Cora sprints forward and strikes the core of Albeit's energy. An incredible maneuver, but suddenly Albeit retaliates, seizing Cora and beginning to crush him. Still, with unmatched courage, Cora sacrifices himself, activating the bomb and obliterating Albeit completely. As for Shin and Arslan, they finally reach the energy drop core, a massive tower rising from the water's center. They are both awestruck by its colossal size. Flare carries them to the top, safely landing on the roof of the structure. But what exactly is this place? It resembles something out of a fantasy realm, as if it had fallen from the sky. They approach the energy crystal, which is absolutely enormous. Each of them summons their weapon and begins striking the crystal, attempting to break it. But it proves futile. The crystal is tougher than any shield imaginable. That's when Shin halts his attacks and, using his intellect, informs Arslan that this is a core fracture. Every crystal has a weak point, and that's where they need to strike. I don't understand, Arslan says. Shin replies, it's simple, just hold the weapon upright. Boom. He shatters it. My friend, it was a breathtaking moment. Arslan follows suit, delivering his own strike and smashing the crystal. Promise me, when we return, you'll declare yourself king of Andorra, Shin tells Arslan. Trust me, now is the perfect moment. Andorra will face destruction again without a ruler. Arslan hesitated, but Shin assured him, I'm here for you. Out of nowhere, a horrifying attack struck them. Indeed, Senga had made his entrance. I will annihilate you, you insignificant pests. He yelled, do you really believe you can topple everything I've created? Turning to Shin, he remarked, I can still find it in me to forgive you. Join forces with me, and we will crush that boy next to you. Yet Shin stood resolute, replying, you've lost your humanity. Your heart is clouded by hatred and arrogance. I won't allow you to harm anyone else, not while I still draw breath. Senga responded, so be it. Suddenly, massive weapons burst forth from his back. It was evident that doom was approaching, but how could he wield such weapons if he wasn't even from Andorra? Yes, this criminal had merely been biding his time after slaying the Zoraimka. He lunged at Shin, wounding him, then seized Arslan and slammed him down. You're as weak and foolish as the Zoraimka. He snarled, you'll never overcome me. But Arslan stood up, seething. Fine. His weapon began to transform, reaching its ultimate state. What is happening? Arslan declared, I once fought for the Zoraimka, but now I fight for all who suffered because of you. I will show no mercy. Filled with determination, Shin shouted, that's the spirit. Senga, filled with rage, charged at them, but he froze midair. By whom? Arslan unleashed the Ember Dragon, shattering Senga's weapon with a single blow, burning himself in the process. He launched another strike, and though Senga attempted to defend, it was already too late. Arslan's weapon continued to evolve. The scene was unbelievable. Still, Senga was not easily defeated. He retaliated fiercely, managing to take down Shin completely. He approached and declared, this is your end. He bound Shin, lifting him into the air. It was obvious. The end was imminent. Senga unleashed a final strike. Shin remained unyielding. He faced death with unwavering bravery. Give it all you've got. He shouted, but do you genuinely believe this is the conclusion, my friend? Not in the slightest. Arslan's weapon transformed again, and he charged in, with Phylon joining the assault. Boom! In an instant, they obliterated Senga. Shin, witnessing it all, was flooded with memories from the past. A profound sadness weighed heavily on him. Suddenly, the crystal shattered. The entire area began to crumble. It seemed their demise was approaching as well. Shin clung to a rock, barely managing to hold on. He attempted to activate the barren blue to escape, but he was clueless on how to use it. And tragically, both of them plummeted from above. But hold on, whoosh! Fluron had come back to life. With divine judgment, he rescued them from death. At the very last moment, Bilal, the assistant, managed to reach Pascal from the other side. It turned out he wasn't dead, as everyone had believed. Instead, he was dangling between the trees, having survived due to his explosion-resistant suit. And there's another luxurious feature we'll discover later. After a brief while, we find Dimitro and the team gathered when suddenly Shin and Arslan arrive. The atmosphere shifts to joy as everyone realizes Pascal is still alive. Dimitro, Shin, and Arslan stand side by side. In that moment, Arslan expresses his gratitude to Dimitro for all his help. Shortly after, Shaw arrives to join them. Turning to her, Arslan thanks her for everything and adds, I'm sorry if I caused you any worry. Her heart swells with emotion and she can't hold back her tears. Arslan, puzzled, can't grasp why she's upset. Shin looks at him and quips, of course, you'd be clueless about that. She has feelings for you, you dolt. Let's not dwell on that. Afterward, they all take a moment to rest. Joy fills the air as Andorra is restored to them. Everything appears flawless. But suddenly, Shin steps outside and Arslan follows. Outside, Shin informs him that he must return to Earth Though this may feel like home, his mother is surely waiting for him, and he is all she has. Thus, he must go back to her. The boy says goodbye to Arslan, saying, "All right, take care. I'm confident we'll cross paths again someday." Then he departs, heading back to Earth. And with that, the first season of the anime wraps up. If you liked the story and want to see Season 2, let us know in the comments. Also, support us with a like, subscribe for more recaps, and hit the bell icon to be notified when they drop. Until next time.